Okay, welcome everyone. I think we are live now, so I think we'll get started. So welcome to the tax offer holder event. It's great to see you all on the call today. So my name is Claire, and I'm one of the tax recruiters here at EY. So we thought it'd be a great opportunity to get together and answer any questions that you may have prior to joining us this year. So we've got a mixture of future graduates, apprentices and summer interns on the call today. So we want the session to be as interactive as possible. So please do ask questions. You can come off mute and ask the question, or you can post the question in the chat if you prefer. So joining us today from EY, we have David Wilkinson, who's one of our partners in tax. And we also have Harriet Wimblett, who's our student experience manager. And joining us on the panel a bit later, we've got Laura, Sophie and Charlie, who are graduates on the programme with us, and Josh, who is one of our apprentices. So I'll let them all introduce themselves in due course. But firstly, if I can hand over to David. So thank you, David.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Claire. I think many of you will have heard me speak at one of these types of sessions before, or had some kind of interaction with me, but just as a quick reminder, so as Claire says, I'm a partner in the tax practice here at EY, specifically in our International Tax and Transaction Services team. I've been at EY for, very nearly 21 years now, having joined myself as a graduate on the programme that existed at that point, and I've been a partner for 6.5 years. Alongside my client role, I act as the partner sponsor for our graduate and business apprentice programmes, and therefore I have a keen interest in talking to you all, hearing about what your questions might be, helping answer some of those questions, sharing a little bit about what we're up to at EY with you all at the moment. So, and obviously very much looking forward to seeing many of you, speaking to many of you once you're here for your internship or your full-time role later in the year. So let me just sort of give you maybe just a quick update on what's going on in the EY world at the moment. So many of you will have kind of known or be aware that with effect from 1st of July last year, we have a new global chair and CEO. So we are all sort of starting to see the effect of that filter through to us in all the different parts of the EY world through Janet's new strategy for us as an organisation, the All-In strategy. And really that's starting to come to life now in terms of what does that mean for us in the UK? What does that mean for us in tax? There are some things around some structural changes, which, to be honest, aren't going to make much difference to the vast majority of people. We're moving to what we're calling our super region model, removing some layers of management, making hopefully the whole EY structure in the way that we operate with all of our colleagues around the world more streamlined, more efficient, and just easier. And that's all with the benefit of our clients in mind, so that we can better provide a joined up suite of services to those clients. So that's one aspect that's starting to take effect. And but as I say, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. More locally, from the 1st of January, we have a new country managing partner and regional managing partner here in the UK. That's Anna Anthony. So again, Anna's hit the ground running, really bringing to life her passion for what we are as a business, what we do as a business, and how best we can kind of keep growing and evolving. So it's really exciting times, I think, in terms of the sort of positive impact that I think you get when you have changes of leadership, and the sort of the enthusiasm and the energy that creates for the organisation as a whole. We obviously are facing quite a challenging market overall at the moment. The economic uncertainty that the world is in, still coming out of COVID in the sense of economic sort of growth, and then challenges created by policy makers both on the other side of the Atlantic, but also in other parts of the world as well, creating uncertainty for some of our clients and how strong their businesses are. But whenever there's uncertainty and whenever there's change, quite often that's when our clients lean in most to wanting us to help them. And that's certainly the case with perhaps the biggest topical issue for us in tax at the moment, which is what on earth is going on in the world of tariffs and the customs requirements that businesses are now having to face when they're importing and exporting products, particularly between the US and other parts of the world. I heard the head of that team, a partner called Mark Bunch, talking the other day, and he was saying that he is basically on a retainer to sit in the boardroom of one of our biggest manufacturing clients here in the UK to really just give them real-time advice as and when things are changing in this whole space, because it's so hard for them to be able to kind of see the bigger picture, understand what this all means for them and how they keep going about keeping their business going, really. So we are really making a positive impact to lots of businesses on how to deal with all of this uncertainty at the moment. So that's just maybe a little bit about some leadership changes that we've got that we've had in the UK and globally at EY. A little bit about what that's meaning from a sort of structural perspective, and then obviously a bit of a conversation there about some of the hot topics that we're facing in tax. What I thought I'd do as well is just highlight some points from our recently released Global Value Realised report. So this is where we summarise the contribution that EY makes overall from its global activities. So we look to measure ourselves or talk about ourselves across four different value drivers, value propositions. That's people value, societal value, client value, and financial value. This is all available on the EY website. So if anybody, and I think we'll send a link around afterwards. Just think it's quite an interesting or useful document that summarizes the kind of things that we as a global organization that you will soon be part of actually contribute to the global economy, to societies, and to the people that work here at EY. So a couple of things I thought I'd just highlight from that. We talk in the report about how much we as a global firm invest in training. So that will be something I'm sure is very relevant to you all. Now, you'll have some structured training once you join either as a business apprentice or as a graduate, and hopefully those of you who are summer interns, that will be what you one day soon become. And that's partly around your exam qualifications and professional qualifications and that kind of thing. But actually the training that you will receive is much more than just that, as you might expect. So there's a huge amount that the firm puts into its training globally, and that certainly is also the case here in the UK. One area where people are able to upskill themselves is by undertaking online learning that results in what we call EY badges. So if you complete successfully a certain suite of training, that will allow you to effectively obtain a certificate that says you have now got skills in a particular area. And I thought it was just interesting that since we launched that program, which wasn't that long ago, 500,000, so 500,000 badges have been awarded now to people. So really showing how much opportunity there is for that learning and development as you're going along in your time at EY. So that's on the people value side, just a couple of highlights there. When we turn to societal value, I think it's really critical and important that and significant that we really have made a huge investment in what we achieve from an environmental and sustainability perspective. So it's helpful and good, I think, to note and to recognise that we're on track to meet our target of 100% renewable energy use in all EY offices globally by 2025. So that's this year. We have delivered over 20,000 sustainability engagements to clients. So that will be helping them understand how do they meet their sustainability commitments, how do they report accurately what they're doing from a sustainability perspective, and how best to deal with things like in our space, some of the new sustainability related taxes that are coming in, and again, making sure that they're not missing their requirements and their obligations around things like the extended producer responsibility taxes, the plastic packaging taxes, things like that. So there's a real role that the tax practice plays in helping our clients think about and manage what their obligations are from a sustainability perspective. When it comes to client value, I mean, it's just incredible to think about how many clients we actually work with across the globe. It's just all of the very biggest and most significant, but right down to family offices, family investments, and much smaller business as well. So it's really significant in that respect. And clearly the way we serve those clients is changing through the use of increased technology, through the use of AI and that kind of thing. And that's an area that we are, again, investing heavily in. So we've spent over $1.7 billion in our AI technology and AI offering, and the way we can use AI in the delivery of our services. And that includes developing effectively our own version of ChatGPT. So we've got EY.ai, and that's a tool that's incredibly powerful and is used by lots of us to make the delivery of our work to our clients more efficient and higher quality. And then if I finish just with one final bit, looking at what does that all mean in terms of what we generate from a financial perspective as a global organization. And this, I think, is where you really start to feel the scale and size of EY as an organization. So in the year to the 30th of June 2024, which is the EY financial year, we generated $51.2 billion of revenue. I mean, that is just a phenomenal number. That is absolutely vast, and just kind of goes to show how strong a brand we have and how important we are to our clients in terms of their appetite to spend that kind of money with us for the valuable services that we do provide. And that represented 3.9% revenue growth from the previous year. So solid revenue growth, I would say, in the context of the economic situation that the world has been facing and continues to face. Bringing that to us here in the UK and in tax, well, tax was the joint highest growth service line in terms of how much contribution we made to that 3.9% growth overall. So tax globally grew 6.3% alongside assurance at the same, whereas our strategy and transactions businesses and consulting businesses probably faced even stronger headwinds in terms of the market they were dealing with. And then and this is sort of a slightly outdated concept now because we don't really have our 3 global regions anymore. We have, as I say, moved to sort of smaller super regions of 10 altogether under the new structure. But the EMEA region, of which UK and Ireland is a part, was the fastest growing region of last year as well. So 6.9% growth came from the EMEA region. So I think it's really exciting as well to think that you will be sitting and joining us here in the tax practice, which is one of the fastest growing parts of the EY business in one of the fastest geographical region growth markets. So fantastic time to be joining the EY tax world, I would say. That's probably enough from me, I suspect. I think I've probably used up the time that's been allotted to me, but I will obviously stay on the call and be here to help answer some of your questions, but I'm sure that you'll get much more value out of the other EY people on the call in terms of things that will have more direct relevance to the questions that you've got coming up. But yeah, very much looking forward to seeing you all and continuing to talk to you before you join as well. Thank you.
Thanks, David. If I could hand over to you, Harriet, next, if that's okay.
Yes, of course. So hi everyone, thank you for joining the call and congratulations on getting your offer to join us either as summer intern or grad or school leaver. So my name's Harriet Wimblett. I am the Student Experience Manager for UKI Tax, and basically that means that I kind of oversee all of the different elements that make up your student programme. So your professional qualification and the learning that you're doing as part of your technical training, and just kind of making sure that everything is happening as it should and acting as a support for you as you progress through your student career with us. So you'll be hearing more from me when you join, either on your internship or in September. And then I'll be on the call today to answer any questions you've got about your qualifications or just the overall kind of programme structure. So if you have got any questions about those, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I can pick those up when we get to the Q&A. But yeah, it's really nice to virtually meet all of you. Obviously can't see you, but hopefully we'll get to meet in person soon. And yeah, congratulations again.
Okay, thanks, Harriet. So we'll move on to the kind of panel discussion and Q&A to give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. You can actually only use the chat function. Sorry, I think I said before that you could come off mute, but I don't think that's possible. So you will have to use the chat function. But we do encourage you to, if you've got any questions, do ping them in the chat, and we can answer them. So maybe you want to start thinking of those now. But firstly, what we'll do is we'll go through the panel, and if our panelists can briefly introduce themselves, talk a bit about what they currently do. Maybe if we kick off with Laura.
Hi everyone, my name's Laura and I'm in the EY Global Compliance and Reporting team, which essentially is a team that deals with UK corporation tax compliance. So my kind of portfolio of clients is the same year on year, so I get to kind of build those strong relationships with clients. And what my role does day to day is I do a lot of the preparing the tax returns, kind of going into the detail and sending that off for review. So I enjoy that bit. That's kind of like a bit of focus time and getting into the numbers and researching different tax issues. And then the other side of that is kind of like the client management, so replying to emails, using our kind of platforms and technology that we have to review information that clients sent in and then send it back if we don't think it's quite right and things like that. Might be a case of I'm calling up HMRC to kind of change company details or allocate payments. So that's just very briefly what I do. And then if I'm on a study day, I study the ICAS CA, so that's Chartered Accountant qualification, and I'm about 10 exams out of the 14, so nearly there, but all going well so far, and I'm enjoying tax and feel like I've made the right decision.
Great, thanks Laura. Sophie, I can hand to you.
Hi,
please.
I'm also in the Global Compliance and Reporting team in the Cambridge office. Laura did a brilliant job at explaining what we do, so I don't think I really need to go into too much detail of what the role entails. What I will say though is in this role, I'd say it's quite a technical role, so you want to deliver in training days. So throughout the past year since I've been here, I joined in March 2024. We've had a large range of in-person and online training, different tax issues, so capital allowances, for example, and that's been really great learning experience.
Great, thanks Sophie. And Charlie, if I can hand to you next.
Hi everyone, again I'm in Global Compliance and Reporting in Newcastle, so I mean I can't really add much more than what the two before me have just said. Yeah, it's a lot of compliance, it's quite a technical role. I joined from doing accounting and finance at the University of Liverpool and then moved up to Newcastle, but I don't have a bad word to say about EY. I can't really add much more than they've said, but yeah, I'm sure everyone will enjoy it.
Great, thanks Charlie. And last but not least, Josh.
Thank you, Claire. So hi everyone. I've been at EY for just over 1.5 years now, and I joined in the indirect tax team in Manchester as a school leaver. I'd say during a typical week, I would normally work with clients to help manage the VAT compliance. We'd respond to any ad hoc queries they may have, and we'd be working on any indirect tax specific advisory or technology projects, which is a lot more common now. And yeah, I'll hand back over to Claire.
Great, thanks Josh. Yes, we're just keen to open it up to questions. If you've got any questions at all about the programme, training, anything at all really, feel free to post them in the chat. But to get going,
there's a couple of questions that have come in. So there's one asking about badges and certificates. So are they free courses or paid? So they are all included. So it's part of an EY kind of training. So they're delivered from our our kind of online training platform that we have. So yeah, no costs involved in doing the EY badge courses. And then there's also a question for the panel. So what skills or experiences do you think helped you most in your first few years at EY? So very good question. I will open that out to the panel if anyone wants to take that first.
I think Sophie kind of alluded to it earlier about the training days that you receive, and I found those to be really helpful. It's kind of like, I think I'd encourage you all to make the most of those days and to make notes and to listen really closely on those training days, because I find that you learn those things and then you go back into the office and then you're like, I actually do know that, I saw that here, or I'm familiar with that, so they are really useful. So I would just say taking the most of them and just making sure you're paying attention and making notes. That's one thing that I think that when you first start you don't do enough, is making notes. When someone's taken the time to sit down and go something through with you, when you've got those notes to look back on, they're really useful, and you thank your earlier self.
Thanks, Laura. Any other skills that anyone else thinks helped them, particularly in their first few months or years?
I'd probably say just like, it sounds cliche, but everyone says it, and like be confident, just ask questions, because you're not going to know what you're talking about. I mean, I've been here since September and I still don't really know what I'm talking about. You just got to ask questions. You're never gonna, it changes all the time. You're never gonna understand it perfectly, but you're better asking the question straight away than just sitting on it and sitting on something for a day, because it's so easily done. You can just sit staring at an error and not have a clue how to solve it, but just be keen to ask the question.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Charlie. And then we've got a question that's come in. How does the corporate tax busy season compare to audit? So does anyone want to take that? I don't know if all of you would have had a busy season yet necessarily.
I'd say I've found so far the work-life balance has been very good. I was a little worried before I joined, but I've been not struggled with it at all.
Thanks, Sophie. And yeah, we obviously don't have anyone from audit to compare, but I would say generally there's probably less of an intense busy season in tax than there is in audit.
I think that must be right. It's probably worth saying that actually in the advisory tax teams there's probably less of a sort of busy season per se, in terms of there being, the work is sort of more spread out project wise across the year, whereas maybe there is more of a busy season, as you say, in the GCR team or in some of our BTS teams, which focus on certain like R&D claims and things like that.
Thank you. Someone's asked, what does progression look like in tax at EY? It's David, I don't know if you want to.
I was going to say, should I take that?
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about my no. So the typical position, and somebody will have to jump in, kind of correct me if I'm saying any of this wrong. So if you join as a graduate, then the first sort of your first initial training contract is for 3 years, but you will, assuming that you pass your exams without any need for resits, and therefore in line with the sort of standard pathway, then there will be a point roughly 2 years in, Harriet, correct me if I'm wrong, where you'll kind of become part qualified as a and sort of have an interim promotion to become a part qualified senior. Then once you've completed your full 3 years, that would become a fully qualified senior. Then, to be honest, after that, the path is rather more dependent on your own performance, the needs of the business, and that kind of thing. To kind of maybe give you a more helpful, so my own personal progression. So after my first 3 years, I think, and this is testing my memory, I think I was a senior for 2 years. I was then a manager for 1 year, a senior manager for 3 years, a director for 5 years, and then a partner, made partner at that point. So I think I'd been at EY 14 years when I made partner overall. But that could vary. That might be about the sort of something like the length of time overall, but the time at each grade might be different for different people. There is just no one sort of set position, but we're a very big organization, so we can generally we will generally promote people to their next grade as and when they're showing that they're ready for that. And then from a business apprentice perspective, that sort of initial phase is slightly longer. The exams are spread out over a slightly longer period, which I think is now just over 4 years. I think, is that right, Harriet?
Yeah, 4 years exactly.
Yeah. And I assume there's a part qualified progression point somewhere in there as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And then after that, once you sort of at the same sort of become fully qualified, there's no reason it should be any different for a business apprentice in terms of progression through to sort of manager and onwards, compared with the graduate route. So hopefully that answers the question.
Lovely, thank you. There's a couple of professional qualification questions which I'll just try and sort of answer in a bit of a round response, and then you will get kind of much more information as you get closer to joining. So the qualification that you'll be doing is determined by the team that you're joining, so there isn't flexibility to change from the assigned qualification that you've been given. It's been selected on the basis of kind of the technical skills that would be most appropriate for the area of the business that you're working in. So we do offer a couple of different qualifications across tax, kind of depending on the team. We are introducing a new route this year as well for some of our teams, which is the ATT-CTA route. So we will be holding a specific offer holder session for that in a couple of weeks' time. So if you are joining to do that route, you will get invited to that soon, and we'll be able to share kind of more specific information about that qualification on that session. But for everyone else as well, you will get more information about the structure of your qualification, kind of how the study will work in the lead up to you joining us in September. Most of our qualifications work on a blended study approach, so you'll have a mixture of in-person college, online college, and then some self-study as well, and that will be determined by the kind of papers that you're sitting and what is the most appropriate study style, so a bit of a tongue twister, for those papers. So I would just say any questions that you've got about your qualifications, please don't worry, you will get answers to them. You will get lots of information upon joining as well to make sure that you're fully equipped to know what it is that you need to be doing for your different qualifications. So I appreciate you definitely will have questions now, but please just rest assured that they will get answered as you get closer to joining as well. And then we've got a question on the, let me just find it now, sorry, scrolling through, which I think is a really good question. So I'll open this back out to the panel. So how does EY promote a healthy work and study balance, especially when it's coming closer to exam periods? So I don't know if anyone on the panel wants to share their own experience of kind of managing that balance of work and study at the same time and the support that they've had from their team.
I think you'd never ever be expected to work alongside studying. So when you're at college, I mean, I've only had one set of college so far, but it was like 9 weeks long, and you'd never be expected to do any sort of work during college as far as I've seen. And I think if you were being asked to, then you'd just raise it and bring it up to someone else, because I don't think anyone would expect you to do anything beyond the college work you're doing, because that's intense enough most of the time. So I don't think it's anything to worry about.
Thanks, Charlie. Anyone else? Laura, you've come off mute.
Yeah, just to echo that in terms of on the ICAS approach for the grads, you do large study blocks where you do it all in one period, so you won't be expected to kind of mix study and work, which I found really, really helpful. But I'll be interested to hear from Josh on how he finds ICAW, because I know that's a little bit, you take your exams a little later after the study period.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I was going to say that, so with ICAW, that's currently what I'm doing. I think the graduates in indirect tax also may do that. But with ICAW exams, they're normally spread out over several months. And so you'll be in college for maybe 2 weeks at a time, back in the office for a month or two, and then back in college for revision. And I also think you've got a lot of support from your team as well while you're doing exams and revising. For those periods that you are in the office, you can ask anyone in your team for any help on anything, and the chances are that most of those people in your team have already taken those exams that you're currently doing, and so it is quite helpful asking the people in the year above you if you've got any questions on any of the content within the exams for their help with them, which, yeah, I definitely advise.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Josh.
Just chipping in maybe then, just this is a topic generally very close to my heart as the sort of overall student partner sponsor, and exams being a big part of that. Everything that everybody said is absolutely spot on. For your first attempts at any exams, they will almost always be as part of a block. So you'll go off to college, do the learning, do mocks, do progress tests, and then you'll have maybe a few days of sort of self-study leave at the end, and then you'll sit your exam. And Josh has explained that might be slightly different for business apprentices. It's probably worth saying that if you are in a position where you have to resit exams, you would be then expected to kind of do that preparation for that resit alongside your normal work commitments. You can obviously take holiday and things like that in the run up, and you get the day of the resit and I think one extra study day as off, but that's where you do need to perhaps balance work and study more. But the teams, as everybody has said, that you're working in will very much support you to do that and make sure that you are given enough time outside of sort of normal working hours to be able to do the revision and exam practice that you need to do. If at any point you feel that isn't the case, I would just encourage you to have that open conversation with your team about that, and for you to highlight to them any sort of concerns or stresses that you might have around that.
Cool, thank you. There's a few questions just about kind of other teams. Obviously, I appreciate we've got 3 GCR and an indirect tax person on the call today. So if you are joining one of our other teams, you will get contacted prior to joining. So you'll have hopefully some contact from your local office in the next couple of weeks with kind of a named person that you can reach out to with any questions. And then you'll also get assigned a specific buddy prior to joining as well. So they'll be in touch with you and they'll be from the team that you'll be joining. So you'll have opportunity there to ask specific questions. And then in the induction as well, you'll obviously get lots of information and opportunity to kind of network with your teams and get to understand a bit more about the day-to-day roles that you'll be doing. And then we've got some, we've had quite a lot of questions, which is lovely. If we don't get around to all of them, if we haven't answered your question, we'll make sure we do a scan at the end and we can send out some more information. So someone's asked, which I think is quite an interesting question. What has been the hardest part about working in tax at EY? Does anyone want to take that one?
I'd say, I guess this is more, well, I can only speak for GCR, the technical aspect. Obviously, you start not really knowing much about tax. I did economics degree, so didn't do accounting and finance. And I think it's just getting to grips with so much knowledge. But again, with the support of the exams and the training programs, you kind of pick it up. And still, after a year, there's still so much I don't know or understand. But I think the key part is having a good relationship with your team, so you feel comfortable going to your colleagues to ask questions about anything you don't understand.
Great, thanks, Sophie. There's a couple of questions about kind of secondment opportunities or opportunities to kind of work across different teams as well. So I would say whilst you're on your student programme, there's probably limited opportunity to do secondments. There might be potential kind of short client secondments that might come up, and also for team transfers as well. It's generally more flexible once you've finished your student programme and you've got your qualification, at which point, you know, there's a whole host of different areas across tax, across EY, and lots of different opportunities to work across different teams, work across different offices, obviously different locations in the world. One of EY's great benefits is a global business, and there's lots of opportunity. I know several people who've kind of ended up going and working in different EY offices in different countries as well. So I would say all of those things are definitely there, but whilst you're on your student programme, I would say the focus is kind of getting up to speed with the team that you're working in, getting to grips with the technical aspects that you need, and focusing on your qualification as well. So I would say probably limited opportunities, not impossible in terms of the secondments, it just depends on what comes up. But I would say, yeah, your focus during those first couple of years is really getting to grips with the team you're in, doing your qualification, and then once you've got that finished, there's then that kind of opportunities open up a bit more, I would say. I don't know if you want to add anything else, David.
No, I mean, I think that's exactly right. There are some sort of quite structured programs, like the opportunity to go and spend 2 or 3 months on the New York tax desk, for example. So that's where a bunch of UK tax professionals are based in New York, serving the US client market for a period of time. Some people at sort of partner level might be there for 4 or 5 years, senior managers maybe a couple of years, and then for level 2s, there's a opportunity for a smallish number, 8 or 10 I think, across a year, to spend 2 or 3 months at a time there. So that's definitely one opportunity that I think a lot of people have benefited greatly from. But yeah, there's loads of flexibility to do stuff. It's a lot about what you can sort of create for yourselves, and as well as there being some, as I say, some more sort of structured things.
Yeah, definitely. So we've had a question, well, there's 2 sort of similar questions. So one around flexible working arrangements. So I guess kind of number of days we're in the office, which I can sort of take and then hand over. And then also a question around kind of general daily working time. So kind of what time you're coming into the office or logging on, and then generally finishing. So I would say we do have a kind of flexible working policy whereby you can work obviously in the office. You also can work at home or potentially from client site. We try to recommend being in the office around 3 days a week. And I think especially when you're kind of first starting out, and hopefully the grads and apprentices that we've got on the call can kind of attest to that, just having that face-to-face time, sort of just that osmosis of hearing things that are going on around you, getting the opportunity to meet people, kind of ask questions in real time is really, really beneficial in terms of your learning. But there is also definitely that flexibility to work from home as well, especially obviously in the lead up to exams and things like that. So I would say the flexibility is there, but we would encourage you to kind of get the benefit of coming into the office and having those face-to-face interactions as well. But I don't know if anyone on the panel wants to share their kind of experience of days they're in the office and sort of general working times as well.
Yes, I kind of stick to the 3 days in, 2 days at home. I know kind of within my first year at EY, I did more like 4 days in the office because I think I was in a big team, and even just like learning names and faces, it's just so useful to do in person, as well as overhearing conversations and using tax technical terms and things is just super useful. So I would encourage you to go in. And then now it's when I've got like some kind of need to get my head in a tax provision or a tax computation, it's sometimes easier to do at home. So there's definitely benefits of intermingling it, and I'd encourage you definitely to go in on anchor days, because we often have in-person catch-ups on anchor days within kind of client teams. So it's kind of key that you're there for those.
Thanks, Laura. Anyone else want to jump in on that one?
So I know it differs from team to team, but in Cambridge we have 3 anchor days, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where everyone in the team's in, which is really nice that we're all there with each other. And then we work from home on Monday and Fridays. And typically most days I'm working 9 to 5. And again, like I said earlier, maybe around a filing deadline I might be working a bit longer, but generally 9 to 5.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and that sort of time in the office will vary depending on what sort of is going on your clients, on how busy the team is, etc. There may be times when there is an expectation that you would need to work for more hours than that on a particular day. That's just kind of part and parcel of being at the whim of our clients sometimes. That I'm going to give you an example of something that I had to do, which I'm hoping won't happen too often, and certainly not most. But I was on 2 client calls at 9:30 and 10:30 on Friday night last week. So, but yeah, like I say, that won't be an experience many of you have to, or any of you will have to do. But it just sometimes happens that on a big project, a client who's maybe based in the US or something like that as well, will expect something that's a little bit antisocial, but it will be a very infrequent occurrence.
Yeah, thank you. So Claire, I think we're coming to the end of our time. There are some more questions which we haven't got round to, but I think we can, as I say, try and answer those. I know there's a newsletter coming out soon as well, so hopefully that will answer some more of those questions. And we will be hosting more of these events in the lead up to September as well. And I think hopefully doing some in-office events in the summer. hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn there, Claire, where you'll get to go in and meet your teams. Yeah, so so if we didn't answer your question, apologies, but thank you for sending all of them in. We had lots of really great questions, and we will try and make sure we go back to those that we didn't get to, and also, yeah, you'll have that opportunity again to join and ask more questions. So Claire, I'll pass back to you.
Great. Well, thank you everyone. Big thank you to our speakers and our panelists today. Hopefully you found that informative, and like Harriet said, you know, we will be hosting other events like this before you join, so you'll have opportunity to reach out again. But we will, like Harriet said, we'll go through, and if there's any questions that we haven't answered, then we will do a follow-up with you with that. But thank you again, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you all.